get right to the site. Welcome in the aforementioned, the host of the Late Kick, Josh Pate, and Big Game Dennis Dodd from East Lansing. Your reaction to what you just saw, men?
I'm going to shake my head, Dennis. So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, you know, you were in the press box, I was on the field, and I imagine the talk up there was kind of like the feeling down here. Michigan goes up 30-14. And you almost start to wonder how largely are they going to stretch this margin? I mean, this is going to be a huge win for Jim. And then you stop mid-sentence because all of a sudden, green score. Dennis, Michigan State hits this game on a 23-3 run, and it was total and complete chaos down here.
Couple things. You mentioned Jim Harbaugh. I started writing Jim Harbaugh. Signature win. Year 7, it took him to get it. 2-12 against top 10 teams. 30-14, it's over.
Yeah.
And then when they scored, the debate is why they're really going for 2. Is that wise here? You know, why are you chasing points now? Well, this will go down. This game will go down. Everything went right in crunch time for Michigan State. Every review, I haven't checked, but every review, including that last two-pointer down here, when they reviewed it, I think it could go either way. The first touchdown by Kenneth Walkers III, when he cleared, that ball was out at the goal line. I don't care what anybody says. When you look at it now, and they reviewed it, and they said he was in, but it was a Spartan day. It was amazing. We now have our Heisman favorite. He may have clinched the spot in New York. And Michigan State now, you know, on Tuesday, we have to start talking about them for the playoffs because they still have Penn State and Ohio State to go.
Unbelievable.
I want to keep the conversation going here about Kenneth Walker III, the Wake Forest transfer. Leads the nation in rushing yards per game, had himself a day, nearly 200 yards, 5 touchdowns, entered with plus 1,800 odds to win the Heisman, going to improve after today. What was that like watching his performance there in East Lansing, where the crowd is just going bonkers for this kid?
Well, Dennis, it was all day. It was people waiting for the dam to break and people waiting for those explosive plays. You and I talked about it pregame, about how the difference could very well be Michigan State's explosive play capability. And sure enough, Kenneth Walker, he had a long run of 58 today. Every time Michigan State got in the end zone in a game in which they scored, 37, it was because of Mr. Walker. And it was almost like kind of a crescendo of a lot of people, both in green and white, and in the college football world, getting what they had waited for. These folks here had waited to beat Michigan today, but in the college football world, in that Heisman conversation, it's kind of been, where's that moment? You know, where's that game going to come from? And it happened in a drizzly Saturday here in East Lansing.
We had 5 of them today. You had 5 Heisman moments. You have to see this kid live. That's what's so great about this game. You see these games live, and you see things you don't see on TV.
Yeah.
His ability at the second level to accelerate, to make you miss, to get into the third level. The first touchdown, the 27-yard touchdown, bottled up at the goal, at the line of scrimmage, bounces outside to the left, finds a hole, and then sprints 27 yards, and nobody's even close to him from Michigan. There was a lot of those runs today for him. That's what he does best. It's hard to bottle him up, even when you do have him bottled up. And to go for 97 yards against these guys, Aiden Hutchinson, by the way, had a day.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are. He had a sack. He had a touchdown taken away from him on a replay down here where Peyton Thorne fumbled the ball but didn't. They said he was down at the 3-yard line. Michigan has a pretty salty defense, or I thought they did. Kenneth Walker was the difference.
Yeah, I'll tell you what else, guys. Just when you think about the way this game starts to evolve, and you think about the fact that it's touchdown after touchdown, and it's all Kenneth Walker, you talk a lot about, Dennis, those big-time players, big-time games. I mean, there is no question where the money downs are going to and where Michigan State's looking, and you still can't do anything about it late.
On the last touchdown, Jay Johnson, the offensive coordinator, went away from him, didn't even come close to him for 7 straight snaps. I think they went 26 yards, 7 snaps. The ace snap went to him, and that was the ball game. That was one that tied it, 30-30. And that was the difference. I was starting to question Jay Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and it was almost like he was hiding him.
Yeah.
You know, now we're going to give it to him. Now we're going to, you think he's gone? No, he's right here, and he's coming to get you.
Jim Harbaugh now 2-13 against AP top 10 at Michigan. It's more context for why he can't win the big games. I'm curious if you think the quarterback situation, going from Cade McNamara back to J.J. McCarthy, did that interrupt the flow for the Wolverines throughout the game, Josh?
It felt weird on the field, I'll tell you, Keeman. The first thing, Dennis, you and I were talking about when you got down here is, boy, there was rhythm and then there wasn't rhythm. And it's like we said a little while ago, it makes you look like a genius when it works out. But my goodness, I mean, when you watch one of those key fumbles happen late and you see who it's at the hands of, and you know he's in because the decision was made, I think it's fair to second guess.
Every other series, it seemed like J.J. McCarthy was coming out there to start a series. He's the five-star guy. He's the guy that's got a little wiggle, and they stayed with him, and he did that throughout the games. I don't know if I'm going to question that, but when you've got the lead, and Caden McNamara, we haven't even mentioned, had a career day, and it wasn't even close. 383 yards passing. His previous high was 260, and I think that was last year, 265. And then to put a freshman in there, and the play where they fumbled, it didn't look like they were on the same page. I think it was to Corum, and Corum was thinking it was going to be play action, and it looked like McCarthy was trying to give it to him, and that's when they dropped it. I should mention, coming into this game, Michigan was tied for first in the country, fewest turnovers overall. 4. They had 2 critical ones in the fourth quarter.
I think a lot, Hakeem, is going to be written and talked about the fact that, like Dennis said, Cade McNamara was playing the game of his career. He already had a career high in total passing yards halfway through the third quarter, so it's not like we saw a guy struggling and he had to tap out. This wasn't a Spencer Rattler or an Emory Jones situation. Peyton Thorne is out there, you know, he's turned the ball over a couple times. Cade McNamara looks like he's going to be the story of this game until Kenneth Walker goes crazy. And sure enough, the rotation still happens and you pay a price for it.
Well, the band is playing on, and we're going to continue to play on here. I'm going to talk as loudly as I can so you can hear me, because I've been on the other end of that in the field. Mel Tucker, talk about the turnaround for Michigan State. Went 2-5 in his first season, now 8-0 this season. He embraced the transfer portal and has rebuilt this program. What does this win mean for Mel Tucker? Dennis, you spoke with him ahead of game day on Friday, and just the significance of this victory for him and this program.
Well, he's hot. He's going to be hotter. Mentioned very prominently right now, Hakeem, at LSU. And if I were a betting man, I'd think he would take that interview if they called. How do you not? It's a better job. He's never been hotter than he is right now. He's a fantastic coach. And 4-0 against Michigan now, twice as a GA with Nick Saban in 97 and 98. And then last year and this year, during that 2-5 season, he beat Michigan. There's something about him these kids rally around. Again, I like Jay Johnson. He's the offensive coordinator that he had at Colorado. He hired him here. He's a quality control guy before that. And he has taken off here. And they, for some reason, things have blossomed. 20 transfers from 15 different schools. Kenneth Walker, the pride of Arlington, Tennessee, didn't like the slow mesh, whatever you call it, at Wake Forest. Came here and really blossomed. I talked to Mark D'Antonio on the field after the game, the old Michigan State coach, and I said, who does he remind you of? And he said, Javon Ringer.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking the same thing. He's got that slight kind of body with a lot of burst in it. We saw him in the NFL like that, and here at Michigan State. Same type of player.
Yeah, if you've got a request for them to play, Hakeem, I'll relay it to him. Think about this, though. So we're talking about the LSU job. We can't ignore it. It's out there. If you freeze this moment in time, it's one of the biggest moments in Michigan State history. Certainly it's the biggest moment to date in Mel Tucker's career. But, Dennis, you and I were talking before this game about how if you're looking at Mel Tucker, this is not James Franklin. You don't have year and year and year and year on the resume. So that means every game is proportionately much bigger when you're trying to judge him for a job. Having said that, Hakeem, your question was, how big is this? It could be the biggest, not only it could be the biggest game in his career, but if you are LSU, and let's say you are fancying Mel Tucker, how does this not push you over the ledge? I mean, how does this not silence any remaining doubts? Because with a limited resume, today was his resume. This is it.
Yeah, how many times have we seen this in coaching searches where the red-hot guy gets the job? And you mentioned it, 2.5 years as a head coach. We know, a lot of people know, when he was there, the best recruiter in the SEC. He'd had experience here in the Big Ten. He's had experience, I think, at 3 SEC schools now. Was at Georgia under Kirby Smart. So we know he can coach. And there's never been a situation, I don't know if you remember a situation like this. If it happens, we've been at 2 Power 5 jobs in 3 years. And you've got a third in your 4th year. That's what's so amazing to me if it happens.
And I'll tell you another thing that's really impressive, Hakeem. This is not a mystery. Like, these Michigan State players, these folks, they're aware that talk's going on. And yet, not only did you see a fully focused team today, when they are totally both shoulders down on the deck, they come from behind. So, I mean, you were talking about guys fighting for him, all in, over the cliff, facing the fan mentality. It exudes everything that you would ever want to see in your head coach, and that's why they sound so proud behind us right now.
Yeah, can you ask them to play Monster Mash? Because that was a monster win for Michigan State. Monster Mash is my request. Look, I said it going to the day. I agree with you guys. Like, if Mel Tucker wins this game, like, lock it up. He's going to LSU. He embraces the transfer portal. He has done a lot with a little, and he's got this team 8-0, now challenging for a Big Ten title. Of course, we're looking ahead to that big game against Ohio State later in the season, and that just magnifies this matchup now that they win this game. Great stuff as always, guys, wrapping up an awesome game there in East Lansing. And, of course, now the band is quiet. That's okay. Our band plays on, and you can hear the band play on with Josh Pate on Late Kick, delivering college football the way you want it. Join Josh 3 times a week on YouTube, 8 Eastern time. You can also listen to the podcast version as well, The Late Kick with Josh Pate.